Hello, my beautiful people, and where's my fedora? I don't know if I've ever gone this long without wearing my sexy fedora. Oh well, a man's gonna have to do what a man's gonna do, and have his hat be naked for the first time in forever. I feel weird. I don't like this. This is icky. It's gross. Ew. So the Wicked movie came out last week. I watched it. I have my thoughts. But first, some background. Obviously, I've seen The Wizard of Oz before. Literally, who hasn't seen that movie? It's pretty famous, pretty notorious, even, pretty iconic in terms of American cinema. If you haven't seen Wizard of Oz, go watch it now, you big dummy. Obviously, with a movie as big and influential as The Wizard of Oz, you're going to get some spin-off material, such as this novel, Wicked, The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West. This novel, released in 1995, written by Gregory Maguire, is pretty much the story of the Wizard of Oz from the Wicked Witch of the West perspective. Showing on how she's really not that bad if you get to know her. I got this bruise when I fell down the stairs. I mean, they gave her a name and everything. And this book was pretty popular. I haven't finished it, but what I've read, I've really liked. In fact, it was so popular that in 2003, Steven Schwartz, best known for Godspell and a few Disney movies, was like, hey, what if we make this into a musical? And they did make it into a musical. It turned stars out of Idina Menzel. And guess what? Guess what? It lost the Tony for Best Musical to Avenue Q. But it was still a good musical. And it was such a hit that Gregory Maguire decided to make 3 more Oz books. Because the musical was so popular. Anyways, the musical was a big hit that eventually a movie would get made of it in the year of our Lord, 2024. But not just one movie, 2 movies, because we're going to get into that in a minute. So today, we're talking about a movie based on a musical, based on a book, based on a movie, based on a book. The cycle of adaptation is insane. So, just like the Broadway musical, this movie follows Elphaba. She's this girl, and she was cursed as a child to be born with hideous green skin. Well, she wasn't cursed, it's a whole story. Because of her green skin and the fact that she was born with magical powers, she has naturally become a big outcast in society, and in particular in her family, with both her father and little sister not really being that fond of her. However, once one of the deans, Madame Morrible, notices Elphaba's unique powers while she was attending the school, she starts a bit of a rivalry with the popular girl at the school, Galinda. And the tension gets higher when they are revealed to be roommates. They were roommates. However, everything changes when Elphaba gets a letter from the Wizard of Oz and how he wants her to come to the Emerald City. Now, I just want to get this out of the way. This video will contain not only spoilers for the Broadway musical, but spoilers for the movie. So if you don't want to hear spoilers for either of those, then I would recommend you click off this video right now. Right out of the way, I just want to say I think the visuals in this film look phenomenal. They built a lot of the sets practically, and they really just added CGI to enhance what was already there, similar to how the original Wizard of Oz built literally everything, and they just had some matte paintings for the backgrounds. The performances, I also think, are very, very great. Obviously, we knew going in that Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande would be fantastic as these characters. Like, Grande was literally born to play Glinda, so naturally she would fall right into the role. And it's neat to see her get back into doing more acting. And, I wasn't completely familiar with Cynthia Erivo outside of the 2022 Pinocchio remake, but I thought she was absolutely phenomenal as Elphaba. And all around, I just think that the casting in general was perfect, and every single actor really did make the most of their characters and fit right in. Like, Jonathan Bailey was obviously phenomenal as Fiyero. I love the fact that he kept his horse from Bridgerton. And let's just be honest, Ethan Slater is Bach. So if he wasn't Bach in this movie, I would have to kill somebody. And of course, Jeff Goldblum is just Jeff Goldbluming the whole time, and it is absolutely fun. Now, the musical numbers. The musical numbers are also very fantastic. Every single one of them, it sounds great, they're mixed really well, the singing is phenomenal, and the choreography is very stunning. They really are taking advantage on how this is movie choreography and not just stage choreography. This is from the same director as the In the Heights film, and that movie had some amazing choreography in it, and it's nice to see that he decided to carry that over into his Wicked movies. Ah, yes. I guess I need to talk about that. Because this is not just one Wicked movie adapting the entirety of the Broadway musical. No, 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 no. This is two Wicked movies, where part one is Act 1 of the musical, and part 2 is Act 2 of the musical. And keep in mind, the original musical is 2.5 hours long. This first movie is 2.5 hours long. And, you know, part of it is adding some stuff that was in the book, but wasn't in the musical. Like, there's a few scenes of Elphaba training with Madame Morrible that weren't in the musical. There's a scene with all the animals at the animal house, which wasn't in the musical. All of that was in the book. So when the movie is adding stuff from the book that wasn't in the musical, I think that's kind of justified. But I feel like what isn't kind of justified when some certain scenes are just dragged out for every single inch of them. And I feel that it is especially present in Defying Gravity, which is amazing. It looks amazing. Cynthia Erivo is singing the frick out of that song. But I think because they know how big of a song that is, they stretch it out. There's a reason you've been hearing the meme for spaces in Defying Gravity, because there are a lot of spaces in this song where they're not really doing anything. But, that's not the only part of the movie that's like that. It's also pretty present in Dancing Through Life as well. And the thing is, the reason the filmmakers said that they decided to make this movie two movies is because they didn't want to cut out any songs. And yeah, in this movie, every single song from Act 1 of the musical is intact, with no new ones. There will, in fact, be two new songs for Part 2, probably because there are like 6 songs in Act 2, but you get what I mean. But the thing is, You could have made a 3 hour Wicked movie, or maybe a 3.5 hour Wicked movie, to add stuff from the book, and it would have worked. Like, I believe that you could have just told the whole story in one movie, and audiences would have liked it and loved it and would crave it as much as they're craving part one right now. And I have proof with movie musicals that have done that. Fiddler on the Roof is regarded as one of the greatest movie musicals ever, and that is 3.5 hours long, and it adds stuff that wasn't in the musical. I think what they should have done, they should have, yes, they should have made the Wicked movie, one movie, add some stuff in the book, remove some of the padding that they've kind of been doing in part one, and in between the act breaks, do an intermission. Because, that's what Fiddler on the Roof did. That's what a bunch of old musicals did. Give this movie like a 2-minute intermission or something like that. Maybe even a 5-minute one. So that audiences can have the chance to go to the bathroom, refill their popcorn, and come back. But that's a conversation for another day on how maybe longer movies should have intermissions. And the rest of Act 2, you can do the same thing. Granted, I don't know how long Part 2 is going to be, but if it's the exact same length as Wicked Part 1, which it very well could be, I have a feeling that's just going to be padding, because like Act 2 of the musical is an hour, right? Just like a little bit over an hour. What are you gonna add to make that, like, where is that additional hour and a half gonna come from? It can't all be stuff from the book. It can't all be the 2 new songs you're writing for it. So what's it gonna be, Shu? What's it gonna be, Schwartz? What's it gonna be? What's going on? And yes, I know that fundamentally theater pacing is going to be faster than movie pacing, and movie pacing is going to be slower than theater pacing. That's different mediums, and so you expect 2 different things. But I feel like you could have made it work. And the only reason I'm saying that you could have made it work is because there were examples in the past on how it worked. But enough about harking on what didn't work with the runtime and the 2 movies thing. I'm gonna talk about what didn't work with the color grading. Yeah, the color grading is really freaking bad. Everything looks way too muted. And for a fantasy land as wonderful and marvelous as the Land of Oz, I want to see that color pop off the screen. I want to feel like I have fully been transported into another world. I don't want to feel like I'm in the inner city of the Wiz or something like that. I want to feel like I'm in freaking Oz. Hopefully, with the big complaints that I do have with this movie, they do get fixed in part 2. Like, the pacing is significantly better, and they up the color grading a little bit. But for now, with part 1, it's still a big issue. And I also just want to state that I think it's stupid. Horrendously, horribly stupid that we have to wait an entire year to wait for what everyone on Broadway had to wait 15 minutes for. A year-long intermission, baby. Let's go. Okay, I need to get back into some things that I like about the movie because I'm sure some of you are probably going to think I don't like it because I said two bad things about it. First of all, that's not how film criticism works. Second of all, here's some more things I liked about the movie. I liked all of the references they made to the original 1939 Wizard of Oz film. Obviously, there are pretty big ones, like the font of the title card being in the exact same font as the Wizard of Oz, and the fact that the silver shoes were in a ruby case. And there are some more subtle ones, like the details on Glinda's dress, and some really neat details that I noticed as soon as I saw the in the theater was a little change they made to Elphaba rescuing the lion cub when she actually uses poppies to turn everyone sleeping, just like she did in the movie Wizard of Oz. That's not what they did in the musical, but they did that in the movie, and I think that's a pretty cool additional reference. And there are also very small references, such as at the beginning, in the opening number, No One Mourns the Wicked, you can hear a little bit of a Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead. And while Elphaba is carrying the lion cub on her bike, you can hear a little bit of Mitch Gulch's theme, which fits because that scene is also a reference to when Miss Gulch is carrying Toto on her bike. And with all of that said, with all the really neat, cool little things that I stated about this movie, I think it's time we get a little serious because now we're gonna talk about everyone's favorite part of fantasy films, the politics of the movie, baby. So, a major detail of the film is that you have the wizard who came here from Kentucky and he basically brainwashed the people of Oz into thinking that he was this great wizard, he could read the Grimoire, and that he could control everything and make everything better by, saying that the lower members of society were out to get them. In this case being the animals of Oz. He even put pictures of himself over pictures of animals in power, and under his reign as wizard, animals are no longer allowed to teach in Oz. They are no longer allowed to preach in Oz. They are not even allowed to speak. They are put in these new contraptions called cages. And the reign of the wizard in this film is very much intentional to what it's supposed to be meaning. Because in the original novel, Gregory Maguire very much stated that he wrote The Wizard as a way to base it off of Nazi Germany. The Wizard's reign was very much inspired by the Holocaust, as in he took these individuals and completely stripped them of everything and locked them in cages, and reducing them to no more than mere servants. So when the musical came out, they obviously kept that factor, but adding additional detail on how is very much similar to what the gay people were feeling at the time and even now. And now, in 2024, with the Wicked movie, notice how similar it is to what we are experiencing in American politics. You have this guy with zero experience in whatever he's trying to do, claiming that he is the best person for the job, not by showing his reasonings, but by constantly belittling the people beneath him, and by trying to brainwash the people that he says he loves into thinking that the lower members of society are the bad guys. And so, just about anybody who publicly dismisses this individual or is against this person and their politics are also seen as the bad guys, with the main person who is opposed to him being seen as public enemy number one, and not to mention that individual is a woman who doesn't have the same skin color as him. Now, if you have any critical thinking skills, I want you to just take a wild freaking guess on who that reminds you of. I love the wizard. The wizard is a very great friend of mine. We've always been such great pals. He decided to give me a piece of his elixir. I said to the wizard, I don't swing that way, but I appreciate your offer. I am going to have to kill you in cold blood. And yes, I very much love the wizard. He is my son. He is my dad at the same time. Very much so. Yeah, and that's why you don't have a nose anymore. Get out of my house. You know, I'm trying to make a video. God. So yeah, if you fail to see the obviously pretty there comparisons for the wizard, then media literacy is dead. Not to mention, this has even more weight to it due to the fact that they casted a black woman as Elphaba. Now, very much so, there has never been a black Elphaba on stage, and it ultimately doesn't matter at the end of the day, because obviously they have to paint her green, so you can cast literally anybody in the role of Elphaba and it will still work. I mean, Idina Menzel is iconic for a reason. Not because she's white, because she was great in the role. However, because a lot of us know that underneath that green makeup, Elphaba is a black woman, it does add a significant amount of weight to her performance. Because, let's say Cynthia Erivo did the entire film without any makeup. The movie would still work. You would still have a group of majority white individuals pointing out at this woman and freaking out over the color of her skin. So, overall, Wicked Part 1. Honestly, I really enjoyed the movie. I didn't have a whole lot of problems with it, but the problems that I did have with it, I'm sure will be fine and fixed once Part 2 comes around. And yeah, if you guys are a fan of the novel, the musical, or Wizard of Oz in general, obviously, I think you're going to have a good time with this one. And it's going to suck. The wait's going to suck. But I think it's going to be worth it because judging on how passionate the cast and crew were while making this, and judging on just how freaking good the first movie was, I think we're in good hands for Part 2. And who knows? A recent interview with Steven Schwartz said that due to the success of these movies, they might possibly adapt the other novels into films with new music. Who knows? We might see it. But we're just going to have to wait and see. But anyway, guys, that will be it for this video. What do you guys think of Wicked Part 1? Please let me know down in the comments below. Also, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and ring that bell to be notified on when future videos are uploaded. Next week, we will begin the Christmas videos, which are always a blast to make, and are a nice, wholesome little way to end the year. Hopefully, I don't get horrendously sick this year, which has happened the last couple of years. So I wasn't able to make a whole lot of Christmas videos, but we're going to change that. We're going to change that this year. But until then, I will see you later. Bye.